call the committee back to order. We have minutes from January 5th, committee meeting minutes. Is there a
Move
motion to
approval
approve?
of the meeting minutes for January 5th of the Committee of the Whole.
Second?
Motion been made, second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 7-0. Any real quick old or new business before we open up? Roxanne?
In planning out my calendar for the year, I noticed that there are a couple of instances where the Marine Resources Committee that I signed up for conflicts with the school board meetings. And so that would mean I would need to miss the next 2 months. So I was wondering if somebody could sit in for me on those meetings, or if somebody wanted to shuffle the responsibilities, what would be the council's advice?
You can think about it, and we can talk about it later on tonight, if anybody wants to think about it. Okay, any other old or new business? Okay, why don't you tell what you were at yesterday afternoon?
Thanks to Gene, he referred me so I could speak at a really moving event that was convened yesterday. Community organizers pulled together an event to honor the people who lost their lives in France, and especially with regard to all the families and the friends of the people that were affected by this loss, and to show our sincere support for France and all the people who were in such pain and suffering. And so I was honored to be a speaker at that, being of French and Native American heritage. And so I just wanted to thank everybody who attended, especially thank Megan Taylor, who organized the event, and it was sincerely appreciated.
Okay, thanks for doing that, Roxanne. How close are we now, Marie? Are we okay? We're close, okay.
Tried to stretch it out.
That's all right. Okay, we now go to the Committee of the Whole. We have two items now that we got rid of the last two. The first item is our Neighborhood Police Officer Program. Chief Cook.
Council, good afternoon. Cliff Cook, Chief of Police. I wanted to take a moment of your time to introduce you to the Neighborhood Police Officer Program. This is a new program being added to the department's historical community-oriented policing outreach efforts. As you know, the department has had very much a community-oriented focus. Part of that focus has entailed a couple of specialty units, the Neighborhood Anti-Crime Team, our District Resource Officer who works in the Bellingham School District, as well as some efforts by our field supervisors who make neighborhood association meetings and other group meetings when they can. I know you're very aware of the demands that are placed on all of our personnel, particularly those units that I mentioned. Trying to carry out a focused, effective community policing program with units that are called away on a regular basis for other demands and duties makes that a difficult process for us. It was my decision to bring the Neighborhood Police Officer Program to the department. It's a program I'm very familiar with. Had experiences with two prior agencies where we started the programs. They are highly successful, still in place, and very much embraced by the community. And I dare say that if you ask those communities to do away with those programs, you would face quite a bit of resistance. I think probably the biggest question in everyone's mind is, what is this program about? And this program is intended to create liaisons, direct connections with the neighborhoods and citizens and community stakeholders in solving some of the problems that the City of Bellingham experiences that contribute to crime, contribute to a decrease in livability, and in some cases merely just don't provide an environment where neighborhoods and communities can flourish. You can't do that on a part-time basis. You have to do it full-time. So we have taken two positions that previously were plainclothes, daytime shift type crime prevention positions, and we've moved them to the patrol division, assigned 2 officers to those positions to work in uniform in marked cars so they can supplement patrol when the need arises, but be a visible presence not only in the neighborhood but recognizable to the neighborhood and our residents. I like to introduce you to those 2 officers that were selected. And you want to come up here, fellas? It's Eric Osterkamp and Dante Alexander have been selected to fill the positions. I can tell you I'm really excited about their selection. These are 2 very much self-motivated individuals, minimal supervision needed, and when they do something, they give it their all and they make it a success. And I have every expectation they will with this. Dante, I believe, will have the north end of the city, which is north of Whatcom Creek, in those neighborhoods and businesses, and Eric will have the southern end of the city with those neighborhoods and businesses. So I'm looking forward to the outcome. There's another program that I'd like to look into kicking off later this year, which they are going to be an integral part of, and that's our Volunteer Citizens Patrol program. But this is an initial first step. They're going to be learning their jobs. I know Eric had the opportunity to go down to Vancouver and look at their program. But I don't want this to be a replication of that or another program that I'm familiar with. I want this to be Bellingham's program. So if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer them at this point. But these are your two NPOs.
You two officers want to say a few words? No, go ahead and use the microphone.
We've made contact with a lot of the neighborhood advisory committee reps. This last week was our first week, and it's just been really neat to see the support that we've gotten from all the neighborhoods. They're very thankful, and it was just great. All they really want is just to go there and give them the information. So it's been neat to see that so far.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree. We've had we get part of different type of ways that we communicate with the people. Obviously, some of them is through email. The other ones are through nextdoor.com, which is kind of a neighborhood group that draws people together. And in that, we probably have over 100 messages that have come to us and have said, thank you for being here and being part of that. And just from the few community meetings that we've been in part of so far, people are just saying how they love this program and are looking forward to, hopefully, everything is going to work. We're going to be able to help solve and help create a better communication between us and them. So.
Okay, any questions, comments? Roxanne?
I just really want to thank the police department for doing this. I just feel like this is literally feet on the street, and I'm used to working in some of my other communities with what were called community liaison officers, and it was so nice to have the consistent resource, somebody who knew about the prior issues, but also could just help activate communities toward public safety. And so I thank the department.
Michael?
I think the single best thing about our police department is that the police officers feel part of the community, and the community feels the same about our police officers. I think that's the single best way to avoid misunderstanding and problems, which is why this isn't the first step in that direction. I really appreciate this is like the third or fourth step in that direction. It's built into the program. So this is really a great move, and I want to say that Officer Alexander took me on a ride along a couple years ago. I was impressed by him and grateful, and I still am grateful.
Okay, any questions or comments? Go ahead, Chief.
I just want to make mention of the fact this is not just a police department effort. Part of the program, a very integral part of the program and critical to its success is the partnership with the other city departments, because most of the problems the officers are going to be addressing are not historically police issues. I think some of you recognize that from your own neighborhoods. And it takes collaboration on the part of the police department, identifying a problem and then communicating it directly with other city departments to get something done quickly. And both the Public Works and Parks Department have been very helpful in helping us start those relationships. We've had to recognize that part of this process means the heads and the mid-level managers aren't the ones responsible. This is going to happen at the line level, with police officers and Public Works and Parks workers working together to solve problems. And I think we're going to all be surprised at how well it goes.
Chief, could you give me the names again so when I report out tonight, I'll have the names correct?
Dante Alexander and Eric Osterkamp with a K.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen. Good luck. Thanks for what you're doing, because sometimes when you go to a neighborhood association meeting, your presence is needed sometimes. So thank you. Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, just one more question, Chief. I'm sorry. I just hope over time, and I'm not trying to add pressure, but I hope that this program could grow in the future, adding more officers and more districts and things of that nature.
Obviously, we know our staffing issues, and one of the reasons I think this has been accepted internally is that the officers are in uniform, they are working out of marked cars. The patrol officers see them as an addition to patrol, not as a takeaway. So, yeah, we really would like to see it. I think give us some time, let us get some successes under our belt, and then we can talk about that again.
Thank you.
Our next item is rental housing registration and inspection program update. It's all yours, Rick.
Members of the council, good afternoon. I join you today to give you an update on our implementation steps and in the development of the rental registration and inspection program. This is nothing more than a briefing to tell you where we are in the process, keep you in the loop as we develop the materials themselves, and talk about subsequent steps that will likely happen in the next few weeks so that you're aware of them beforehand, and should issues come up, we could address them. We're getting our arms around the registration component. We have a very good confidence interval at this point. We understand the technology and the strategy that would be necessary to implement and deploy it. We feel fairly confident in the registration costs associated with doing so, and we believe that we can meet the August 1st deadline of having registration for all of the rental units in town, at least initiated. I think that's certainly the intent. In your packets and provided to members of the community here, we have developed a preliminary schedule. Kind of shows our implementation steps as we move forward to address deploying the program itself. We have identified the technology and the personnel needs we need to implement it itself. And I should note that when I last spoke to you, we had thought we'd be piggybacking on the state system for B&O, but it turns out at the end of the day, that system would not give us enough bandwidth or enough room for information to be able to be effective. We needed more lines than they could provide us, and as such, we'll be doing our own solution, which will customize some software the city currently owns, the HDL software, for the registration component itself. One of the things that we're very mindful of is we want to ensure any steps we make for both registration and for inspection will fold into the future permitting system. The city is investing a significant amount in bringing up our resources in that area, largely, as you might recall, due to the fact that we're unsupported with our current permitting system. And we want to make sure that after we get something up and rolling, we can migrate the data over easily if need be and not create a needless expense in the future. So we're trying to look one step ahead as we go forward on that. We will be coming back to council on the 26th. And we'll be looking for a budget amendment at that time that would facilitate the registration component. We know the cost for the software customization and other costs associated, the hard costs, as well as the staff cost. And we need to get rolling. As you looked at the schedule, you see that we have milestones in early March and May, and moving straight on through to a number of mailings. It's time to start the process to get staff on board for that. Inspection itself is taking a little longer, and as such, the fees for both inspection and for registration are taking a little longer. Initially, we thought we'd come back to you on the 26th and establish the fee per parcel, and it looks to be a parcel-based system, maybe about $30 per parcel for registration. But we think it's perhaps a better approach to wait a little longer till we get fuller information on the inspection costs, so you can see the total cost of the system before you act. And we will be coming back with that. Inspection's taking a little longer, largely because we have a number of issues that are pending that might provide economy and efficiency to implementing the inspection component. For example, our first cut was to send out the letter saying, on or about this day, someone's going to come and inspect your place within 3 hours. That's a fairly common approach. It appears that we might be able to incorporate that into an automated function where someone could go online and select the time they want We think that will eliminate a lot of the phone calls when you get the postcard and says, I can't be there, I can't make it, can we reschedule? And it's analogous to trying to get an appointment with the doctor's office. You know, they'll tell you what they have available and you pick from that. We think there's significant savings in personnel, and we're exploring whether we can incorporate that in our new permitting system. We need to know, in order to be able to implement fully on your schedule by the end of this month, and we should be able to find information to give you on this by the 26th. So when we come forward with the budget amendment for the registration component, we should be able to update you on the issues associated with inspection and whether we will be doing the specific license, inspection module. It's a license module, I think is what's called, for the permitting system, and whether it certainly justifies its cost. Could represent an FTE savings. So it's significant cost as you look at the program going forward itself. I should note that we had hoped to give you a sort of a final draft of the inspection checklist. We're a little behind on that, unfortunately, due to a couple of issues that arose in terms of staffing. We do know for sure you'll have that checklist by the 26th in your packets the week before, if not sooner. So it is progressing, and the reason for that is, although we don't know exactly the method of tracking, scheduling inspections, we should all be on the same page of what kind of questions we'll be asking at the sites when we go back out. So when you next see us on this matter will be a budget amendment. The budget amendment will likely fund the upfront costs for the registration component and allow us to engage an office assistant to staff that would be able to start preparing the materials, mailers, letters, and we kind of know the checklist, as you saw from the materials attached, what we have to put together. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have on the program to date.
Roxanne?
Well, I just am so glad that we're really considering public information outreach, immediately, because as I'm going around town and talking to people, some of the younger people that I'm interacting with who maybe weren't a part of every iterative step of this have been saying things like, well, the city's going to come into my apartment and into my home, and are they going to give me notice? And I'm assuring them, yes, there will be notice. Yes, so there's going to be process, and that there will be good outreach. So I'm grateful for that. So thank you.
Yeah, and I should note that that's a key component. We need to dissuade a lot of rumors that are started, that if your building was built in 1890, you'll have to bring the entire building up to code. Those kind of things get legs of their own, and if we don't do work proactively and get started soon, it's a lot more work to sort of break them apart and truth what's coming forward.
Pinky?
Rick, this looks great. It looks like there's a lot of extensive information for the landlords and for registration on the website. Will we also have a component that's a resource for the renters to allow them the status of what's happening where they might be living, or to look for places to live?
Yes, there should be a page. We're tentatively working on the mock-ups now of what kind of information we need, and having something available for the renters, a renters page that gives them answers, talks about resources, talks about the Landlord-Tenant Act and expectations. Those will all be there. We should note that what didn't make it into that checklist, some focused events like going to Western Washington and using their offices to present to the students might be very helpful, again, to get the message out, talk about the program itself. And our whole job is to reduce the misconceptions before they start.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, well, thank you very much,
Thank you very
Rick.
much.
We will see you on the 26th. Okay. Now we've done the minutes. Any other old or new business? So I'm going to turn to Peter. Peter, I don't think there's anything wrong with us going to an executive session almost an hour early, is there? Okay, so we will now go into executive session. It's closed to the public. Report and regular meeting only. Here are the 6 items. Number 1, litigation, City of Bellingham v. Daniel Bennon, Department of Labor and Industries, approximately 5 minutes. Potential property acquisition, 10 minutes. Potential property acquisition, 10 minutes. Litigation, Fred Meyer Stores, appeal of MDNS and consolidate permit issued for the Costco project, 10 minutes. Litigation, Furlan versus Chuckanut Community Forest District, Whatcom County, Stephen Oliver and the City of Bellingham, 5 minutes. And litigation, Cornelius versus City of Bellingham, approximately 10 minutes. We will be back at approximately 10 after 2. I will be, excuse me.